Nike committed the biggest marketing crime in sports history. They handed Caitlin Clark a $28 million contract, then they completely hid her. Why would a billion-dollar empire intentionally wreck the hype of the most insatiable athlete on the planet? Was it corporate incompetence, or was Nike pressured by WNBA politics to keep her on the shelf? The rollout has been an absolute shit show, but the real conspiracy is just getting started. The stakes here go way beyond sneakers. This is the new wave versus the jealous old guard. Nike executives are actively trying to gaslight you. They want you to believe hiding a golden goose is normal. It is not. The sheer panic behind closed doors has finally been exposed.
I think it's been a bit of a shit show. I think Caitlin Clark, they are releasing the sneaker at Caitlin Clark's least relevant time as a pro.
Least relevant time. We will show exactly how Nike prioritized league politics over their biggest star, causing a catastrophic corporate failure. Look at the raw financials. Nike threw $28 million at Caitlin Clark. That is an absolute fortune, but they treated her like a bench warmer. They locked her in a vault. The logic is absurd. You do not pay someone millions just to hide them. This was not a standard timeline. They actively shelved their greatest asset. Listen to how bad this really is.
They agreed on a 8-year, $28 million deal, one of the worst contracts of all time. For more than 3.5 years, Nike has kept Clark on the shelf, even as she developed one of the most popular marketable athletes in the country.
3.5 years of silence. This was a deliberate choice to keep the biggest draw in sports completely in the shadows. But the panic behind the scenes was just starting. The media establishment immediately tried to cover it up. The PR spinners worked overtime to gaslight the fans. They claimed Caitlin actually wanted to wait. That is a complete lie. This is the new wave versus the jealous old guard, and the old guard is terrified. The corporate executives fumbled the bag. Listen to the absolute absurdity of their defense.
There's one single national commercial, and this is like, a lot of people are upset. And I saw a thing being like, everybody's like, oh, this is the way Caitlin wanted to release, this is the way Caitlin wanted to release it. And it's like,
executive level disaster. You need to stop buying the cheap PR spin. We can call out corporate incompetence. Do you really think she asked to be invisible? Not a chance, but the damage was already done. This deliberate delay caused massive harm. Nike had lightning in a bottle. Her college championship run was a cultural phenomenon. Instead of riding that storm, Nike locked the doors. They forced fans to wait. The irreversible damage is obvious. They wrecked her peak aura. The holding pattern was pure sabotage. Watch how the hype flatlined.
I've said this, like the Caitlin Clark hype is still there. She's still incredibly hyped, but the mania is gone.
They took the most insatiable fan base in history and starved them. They crushed her momentum. The ultimate vindication will take years. But the real conspiracy is why they actually did it. Why would Nike burn their own money? Because of deep-rooted league politics. They were terrified of upsetting the veterans. They desperately wanted to avoid overshadowing A'ja Wilson, so they pushed Caitlin aside. They sidelined the rookie to appease the established star. This is the ultimate betrayal. They let the old guard dictate their strategy. The truth is finally being exposed.
One additional theory was a push for the company to first release signature shoe for more accomplished veteran A'ja Wilson.
Did Nike actively suppress Clark to protect Wilson? Yes. They manipulated the market. They ruined the greatest athletic rollout we have ever seen. This is where the story gets incredibly dark. We need to look at the A'ja Wilson theory. Incompetence is one thing. Deliberate sabotage is another. Nike was terrified of their own roster. They wanted to protect an established veteran. They knew a massive rookie launch would steal the spotlight, so they hit the brakes. Listen to the actual conspiracy being exposed.
One additional theory was a push for the company to first release signature shoe for more accomplished veteran A'ja Wilson. A 4-time WNBA MVP, 3-time champion and the best player on Team USA's Olympic gold medal team.
Accomplished veteran. Here is where it gets highly controversial. Did Nike actively suppress Clark's launch? Did they completely ruin her moment so they wouldn't overshadow A'ja Wilson's debut? Yes, but the real conspiracy was just getting started. To understand this, you have to rip the band-aid off. You have to look at the deeply rooted racial dynamics of the WNBA. Nike was absolutely paralyzed by league politics. They were terrified of navigating the veteran resentment incorrectly. They chose optics over their golden goose. The quiet part is finally being said out loud.
Says gender is a matter of race, job hangs over WNBA, the league is 2/3 black until the release of Wilson's A1. They hadn't had a signature shoe for a black WNBA player since 2002.
Since 2. The quiet part is out. In a league heavily driven by deep-rooted politics, Nike panicked. They tried to balance the scales instead of letting the market decide. They punished the new wave to appease the jealous old guard. But it got worse. The executives actually admitted it. This was not an accident. This was a calculated boardroom-level decision to sideline a superstar. They knew exactly what they were doing. Here is the ultimate validation of your anger.
How much that factored in decision to delay going all in on Clark? I think it factored in a lot.
It factored in a lot. They didn't just delay her, they prioritized optics over arguably the most insatiable fan demand in the history of sports. And that is when everything broke. Let us look at the cold, hard financial vindication. This was not just hurt feelings. Nike willfully burned their own bottom line. During her rookie season, Caitlin Clark jerseys completely sold out everywhere. They were entirely impossible to find anywhere in the country for months on end. The merchandise metrics were historic. The demand was literally unprecedented for women's basketball. She was printing money. But Nike ignored the data. They ignored the fans. They chose to appease the establishment instead of cashing in on a guaranteed gold mine. This was pure sabotage of the highest order. Nike ignored a literal gold mine. They watched fan desperation explode and did absolutely nothing. The demand was insatiable. Listen to how much money they threw away.
Everyone wanted to get their hands on something Caitlin Clark or watch anything Caitlin Clark, and that has persisted. To an extent. Like, you could sell literally anything with Caitlin Clark on it, and it would sell. It would sell.
You could have sold a brick with her name on it. Instead, Nike gave us absolutely nothing. They left tens of millions of dollars on the table, but the real conspiracy was just getting started. They needed an excuse for the missing merchandise, so they fed the public a massive lie. They claimed it takes 2 years to build a shoe. That is completely false. Watch this excuse get completely exposed in the vault.
If they had have released, like, there's no, people are saying, oh, it takes 2 years to make a shoe. There is no way that, like, a lot of these signature shoes are in the vaults.
Do not let them lie to you about the timeline. A multi-billion-dollar athletic empire doesn't need 2 years to print money unless they choose to wait. And that is when everything broke. After years of forced waiting, you expect a masterpiece. Instead, they delivered an uninspired afterthought. The final product was a total insult.
And what they should have done was, even the shoe was only to be released at this time. It didn't take 2 years to make a knockoff Chanel logo. Like, it didn't take 2 years to do that.
Knockoff Chanel logo. 3.5 years of waiting. The best Nike's design team could do was a lazy copy-paste job, but it got worse. This is the final truth. Nike failed their biggest star.
Nike absolutely dropped the ball. They should have had Caitlin Clark's logo ready from the second she set foot in the league.
They made deliberate choices at every step. They absolutely dropped the ball. There is no coming back from this. Nike had the easiest slam dunk in sports marketing history. Instead, they chose to sideline it. The corporate executives played politics. They ignored the actual fans. In doing so, they completely alienated their core demographic. Millions of dollars were ready to be handed over. Nike rejected them. Caitlin Clark will continue to break records. She will completely dominate the court. But the relationship with her flagship sponsor is fundamentally broken. They didn't just fumble the shoe launch, they proved they are entirely out of touch. The future of the game left them behind, but the real tragedy is permanent. The damage is entirely done. The peak hype was wrecked on purpose. Nike will forever be remembered as the empire that panicked. When it mattered most, they surrendered to the old guard. The greatest window in women's sports is permanently closed.